So welcome everyone. I'm streaming this to a thriving singles community, and you are all welcome to come on to the Zoom link that I put in the previous post. You can jump in here with us if you'd like. We have a couple people in here. They have their cameras turned off and their microphones turned off, and that's great. That's a good way to do it. And then we can let Anna tell her story, and then we'll at the end open up to ask questions and make comments. So you guys are welcome to join us, and you can chat with us through the chat, or just raise your hand if you have anything to say. So we have a couple of people coming in now. So I am going to introduce Anna. Hi, you guys. I am so excited that she is doing this with us today. She has an incredible story, and as much as I have heard, I have been so grateful that she's willing to do this. I'll just introduce just a brief introduction. Anna Katia is a mother, an inspirational motivational speaker, an author, an actress, a model, and a volunteer for several highly influential organizations. She will talk about some of those, and obviously passions for her in so many different areas, which I think will be fun to hear. They'll just get to know more Anna more for that reason. With her love to continue trying new things and building and creating new friendships, Anna has found several advocacy outlets to support her community, past and present. So we are so grateful that you're here to join us in this, in hearing Anna's story. I'm going to turn the time over to her in just 1 second. I want to just say briefly why I even do these podcasts. It's not just there's a good reason. I believe that we all have a story. Everyone has a life story to share. Not everyone is anxious about sharing their stories, their past. Situations happen to us in our lives that we don't always love. That there are some shame points of our past sometimes, and those are the points that we choose sometimes not to share our stories. But I have learned that when we embrace all of it, that is where we learn and grow the most. I believe that our loving Heavenly Father has a plan for every one of us, and that no matter what our lives look like, whether it's maybe, with someone else's agency that we feel like might ruin some of our life plans, or what it might be, God will always turn it out to be just much more beautiful than we ever planned for ourselves. So that's why I love to hear these stories, and every single story has that, I believe. And I'm gonna ask Anna a couple of questions to help us to see that. We've talked about some of the parts of her story that she wants to share, and that's the parts that I'm mostly excited about. So guys are welcome to ask questions. I am not checking in on Facebook, so if you're asking questions there, I cannot see them. You'll have to jump in on Zoom and ask them. So, all right, Anna, I'm turning the time over to you. Thank you for being here and sharing your story with us, and I'll just let you take it away.
Great, thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. I'm excited to be here. I really have just had a wonderful conversation with being able to have this opportunity to just speak and to get to know Sheri and everyone, and just like be able to know, over the years, the mid-singles and being in the singles space. So that's been amazing, just growing from that space and learning a lot of things. But for me, I feel that for like, not just for me, but for all of us, like we have all gone through some really good times, good points, high points in our lives, and some really, really tough ones. I definitely have had my fill of life and, and been served many things. But I want to embrace and also empathize as well as sympathize with those that have definitely climbed those high mountains and rugged terrain. And that's kind of where my story starts, is that really that rugged terrain. I don't know if I started on a fluffy pillow at all. And I mean, literally. My life started in my country of Costa Rica. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with that area, but it's near Panama. It's there in like Central America. So it's just there in the middle, right above Panama. And I was born near the mountain, the very mountainous parts. So there's a lot of rainforest, and it's really green and lush. It's beautiful, beautiful area. But yeah, I was born there, and then I actually I found this out in time, but I found that I was then abandoned from the health and mental health of my birth mother. And I had two siblings that I knew of that were with me. I later then had the state come and get me and my siblings when they found that we were abandoned for a number of months. And she would leave at months at a time to town, my birth mother, and then she would come back. And often what the records record, which I received later in my life, I did not get those records earlier in my life. I knew nothing about my specifics of my adoption. But when I found out later, my birth mother would go for 3 months at a time, and she was marked a wanderer. Well, that's what they would call her. The police would call her, just so they could kind of like keep tabs on who's who. But it was also recorded that when she was gone for those 3 months, that she didn't leave food. And so thankfully she had a boyfriend or lover that they say per se. And he, at some point after some time, and that could even be up to 6 months, 8 months, he recognized that my birth mother wasn't able or capable of being able to take care of these kids. And if you can imagine that the imagery is kind of like when you go to feed your cats or dogs or take care of your pets. I'm not talking about humans. I'm not talking about opening a fridge and eating food from your fridge. I'm talking about, you're going to go open a cat food, open a bag of food for your pets, and you'll feed your pets, right? Sometimes I will totally be honest. Like when I was a kid and I had a cat, I was horrible about feeding my cat.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
someone else feed my cat? Especially when I
Yeah.
was really young. Like I'd rather go and play with my friends. That was my birth mother. Like it wasn't about like she's going to see your friends, but she had a different life, and she had some definitely a real mental illness. And to her, that's what her scenario was, is that she wanders, and then we sit there literally on the dirt. Like I said, there was no pillow. There was a tin shack, and it had a cot. It had a round metal bowl that held the coals for my birth mother to cook in. It's very kind of small. And the records also share that she herself only owned a pair of shoes and one dress. But the children, we were left there on the dirt to wait. Often she took my older brother to town, and she could be able to have him go around, and she actually liked him to come because he would steal things. And then my younger sister was left in a hospital. She didn't want her any longer, so she left her there. So this comes from, right, a very different upbringing. And then it moved into me having the state come. Then they recognized the situation, and they then brought us to an orphanage. So I was an orphan for about 1.5 years. And then thankfully, by the grace of God, yes, exactly that we were talking about, how God can bless our lives earlier. That we were able to be adopted, and some Americans in the United States, they wanted to add to their family, and that would have been my adopted parents. They did come down to Costa Rica. They searched for orphanages, and that's where they found us.
Wow. Oh my goodness. So your adoptive parents, tell me a little bit about them. Where did they live, and where were you raised?
So my adopted parents, both are kind of more like in the Ogden area, and they were all local. They're both from Utah. They both had really big families. That definitely typical Utah family. I know things change over time, especially now, but definitely, years ago, those families were big. Both coming from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints faith, and then being raised in a traditional home. Mom is at home and dad goes to work, and then they had 4 sons of their own, and they want to adopt 4 more. And so I don't think they planned for that, but when it eventually came to it, they did want to be able to have some girls, and so they had adopted us. But Costa Rica, I had mentioned I had a brother, or sorry, I had siblings with me. That was a brother and a sister. They did share with my parents before they were looking to adopt that they would need to absolutely keep the children together. So again, another tender mercy that my brother and sister had to come with us. And so my parents were able to adopt us together. But they did have 3 from Costa Rica, 1 from Chile, and 4 from America, which were their own. So we had 3 countries in one house.
Oh, that's amazing. How fun. What amazing parents, adoptive parents. I love that. When people can do that. I'm an adoptive parent, and my story is not like that. It's similar. I mean, it's the feeling it in my heart, like it sounds like they did, or to adopt, and where is my baby? Where are my children? And they knew that they're in Costa Rica. That's where they needed to go to find their children. That's very cool. We talked a little bit about this before the call. I have mentioned this too in a couple of other discussions and interviews that I've had, where I believe that God blesses us with gifts to help us to navigate through life. We come to this earth with strengths to allow us to, I guess, walk through those navigate through those things. And I'm curious what you think. Have you ever thought about the gifts that you were given to help you with these that might be something different than he gave to your other siblings or to anyone else? Can you think of something you're blessed with to help you in your life?
Well, interesting enough, I think years and years ago when I was really, really little, especially between the ages of 3 and 8, I didn't know that I was blessed with the gift of faith. I had no idea. I was taught certain principles, so taught certain virtues, especially with faith and charity and hope, all these things, but I didn't ever term them to myself. I just kind of enjoyed them and thought that's a really positive and motivational attribute to have. I wonder who has that. I actually went searching for that more, and I love to look for it in leaders. I was really big into leaders and who was inspiring, who could like move my heart, who could move me to feel and to experience and to see that my life wasn't just my life. I had to always just sit in my life, but that I could experience these other lives and even really hard circumstances. But the gifts of having faith as well as having really a lot of resilience. I think God a lot for really giving me a powerful tool of resilience. And I believe this even being in the field of social work and family studies is that we do learn and find that children are extremely resilient. So it doesn't mean we can give excuse to be able to say our children can endure this much, so I can do this, right? Certain tactics or ideas or, safe certain things. But we can understand if our children have gone through hard times, or like myself, or if you have gone through a hard time as a child, like there is a point of just this amazing instinctual resilience and also what do you call like this nature to survive. And so that's the stories that I would study, is those that were willing to survive. Why did they want to survive? And why do people do the things they do? There's a lot there when I was a little young word.
Yes. Well, I'm actually interested to hear also. I mean, we'll talk about some of the things you're doing today and why you're here, how you got to doing some of these things, or your passions, the organizations that you're working with and such. But I also want to hear about the book that you wrote about your adoption. You want to talk a little bit about that? Is that something?
Oh, I would love to. I termed all the information and the story, how it came to me, and every way how it presented itself, literally by the hand of God. Like I do not take any credit at all, other than trying to be obedient to writing it. But it literally came from, like, again, the information that I found out later in my life, and that I was able to attain only by the hand of God. And so, yes, I wrote the book and I titled it 14 Days. I don't know if you guys can see it here, and I'm so sorry if it goes up blurry. Let's see if we can even, yeah, I don't even know how to text stuff.
You know what? I'll take a screenshot of it. Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
we can throw it there. And that's the amount of days that it took me to take a journey back to my country when I was 21 years old. That was 18 years later after I was adopted. And I made the journey to go back to my country to go and search for my birth mother. Now, this is a huge deal. In my life, I want to give you some perspective here. In my life, when I went for searching for things, you guys, and I always included prayer, is when I had to go. I remember in elementary, I don't know how many times I lost my shoes. I lost my socks. How many times have you guys lost things? I lost so many things. And so I'm always trying to find these things. But these things were kind of like, I was very determined to, whenever I lost something, I was like really, really determined to have to find something. I hated losing things, and I hated, maybe I was tied to it too. I hated losing things. I must find them. But I never knew, like, later in my life, that I would be going searching for a grander, huge, I mean, ultimately unforeseen, and like, I don't think I even knew that I right, unless by miracle, right, that I could accomplish this feat. So I did return to my country. I planned on not only returning, but I entered the country. When I'll share with you how much information I had. I had the name of my birth mother, and I had the names of the ladies from the orphanage and the volunteers from the orphanage, which were just 2 of them. That's it. And I entered an entire country. I didn't have the city name. I didn't know where I was born, like where like my birth mother was at, my birth father. I didn't know anything about family. There was no records. There was nothing of what happened to us, how it happened. So it was picking up, from the name of my birth mother, and just the names from the orphanage. And where was the orphanage? I don't know. I hadn't been back to Costa Rica for 18 years.
Oh my God.
So I wrote that story to express especially the miracles it took, the 14 days of miracles it took to get me to find, that city, to find the information I need, and to find my records. I was in search for my records. And, I grew up, this was interesting. I grew up back in high school thinking that my life was normal, and I felt like fit. My family loved me. I have food in the fridge. Like, things to me were, small things were very important. They still are. And just being clothed and warm and happy. And it doesn't mean my whole life was like that. Believe me, adoption was not easy. But to be able to, go to a good school and different things. But I did understand that there was going to be some difficulty in, like, trying to understand my adoption as well. So I just totally lost my train of thought.
That's okay. So you went to Costa Rica not knowing too much. That's what you were talking about. Not knowing too much other than just the few names. And then where did that?
Yes. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah,
Well,
so not knowing enough. So my idea was that everything was normal. There we go. Sometimes you just get that brain. Okay, my life was normal. But there was this girl in my class, and she said, "Hey, Anna, would you want to walk home with me?" And that's the big thing, like, "Oh, I get to walk home with a new friend." That's such a girl thing too. I'm sorry, guys. But so she said, "Will you walk home with me?" So I said, "Yeah." So we walked home from elementary, from high school. So this is high school. So you would think this would be more of a younger age. I'm from high school though. And it's probably maybe freshman, sophomore year. And we walk up to her house. She walks into her door, but she leaves the door open, as most teens would. They don't close the door. She leaves the front door open, and she knew she was just going to run in and grab something, because we thought we were going to stay there, but she's like, "Never mind, I'll grab something." She goes to grab something, and I peer in because the door is wide open, and I see her going up to this mother, and I'm like, "Oh." And I can tell it's her mom. She gives her a big hug and everything, and let me just put it in in this scenario. She was Hispanic and she was also dark skinned, very brown. And when she entered into the house and gave this woman a hug, this woman was white. And I was like, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
And to me, that was a big aha. I mean, even at that age, I was like, because I had really, without me recognizing it, I had not understood really or noticed that I was any different than my adopted family. That's how well they welcomed us. That's how much they loved us. I had not even winced, didn't know. I knew there was something different with me. There's plenty of struggles, crying, a lot of things with me, but I didn't know there was that difference. And so when I watched them, and people, our neighborhood, our community, this is why I love community. They were gold. When we came in, they helped, they supported. They treated me and my family, especially my biological siblings, just like there was no difference. There was no color difference. There's no background. There's no nothing. And so that was really big for me to see a part of reality, and it was super hard. I went home and I was like, okay, I don't know if I feel like playing anymore, but
Yeah.
it was interesting. But yeah, learning that I'm not going to have all the details. I don't know everything. There's a lot of like unknowns, right? So that kind of goes, like, I just lost my train of thought again.
That's okay. Okay. Well, I'm following you, so I can help you. So you found information about your adoption. So were it documents that you found, or did you talk to someone that told you those things that you said you've just recently learned?
Yes. So not knowing these things, just like with this girl, right? I now need to get these ahas along the way. I didn't have the documents and I needed to continue my journey. So we had, with a friend that was also adopted and from Costa Rica, we had gone in there. They were translating for me. I didn't know the language either. I went in, I'm like, I don't know language, let's do this. So we did enter and we decided to look up the orphanages first. And we thought, okay, if we have the name, the orphanage and, the volunteers and the lady. So we did go there. I arrived at the orphanage and I was able to talk to the secretary, and she was actually pretty harsh with us because the lady that used to take care of me was quite busy, and she was very, very, very high in her like rank and standing of like a social worker at this point. And so there was about a 6-week appointment, and we were there for 14 days. And she's like, do you have an appointment? And we're like, no. She's like, oh, you can wait like up to 6 weeks. We're like, we need it today. So we had an onslaught of this stuff happening a lot while we were down there. A lot of things were appointment based when it came to obviously the government, social workers, the orphanages, anyone, right? Like that's understandable. Like here, it'd be the same. However, that's where I need to realize and recognize my resilience, my faith, and also understand like the things that I didn't know and what I was about to recognize or understand later were really important to trusting first the process. So if you're ever in this hard place, and you don't have all the answers, you're trying to just figure it out, embracing the hard parts, embracing that you don't know, and embracing that hope, faith, resilience is enough. That's very, very, it's worth it. It's very worth it. And that's literally like, and prayer, what I went on. Like if you filled me up with some kind of liquid and it had a name, like that's literally what filled me up and got me through. But I did get those, obtain the records, and then more information of what led me to where I need to go.
So do you have that information in your book, or is this something that you have, you've gained it since you wrote the book?
So some of the information is in the book, but it ended up being about 60 to 80 page bound record. And so to write the book, I was planning on a 200-page book. And again, for me, I go on a lot of inspiration, which is the direct leading, the guidance from God that tells me of where I can go, what to do. And I felt like when I went to go write the 200 pages, and I went and a few chapters, that I was told later in my life to actually make it very small. And so one day I was praying to the Lord and I said, you want it so small, and I've done all this work. And so again, with resilience and faith in the unknown, I said, how do we do this? Right? So the relationship with me and God, or my Savior, Jesus Christ, who I believe in also, is a we thing. And so they're my best friends. And I say, what are we going to do? Because wouldn't you do that with your best friend, right? Your best friend. So I felt that I was told that this wouldn't be necessary to be smaller. So I said, okay, if you want me to write this book, then this is at the beginning of this idea to write this book, because it was right in the middle of my studies at UVU, and I was studying the family studies, and in the middle I got write your book. No, I was supposed to be 90 years old when I write the book. So write your book. And that's the other thing, is like, don't be afraid to create. Mm-hmm. When you're asked to create, when you're called to create, and that's part of my foundational message is creating change from within. That's with Adopted for Change. But here, when I talk about being from being broken to whole, the wholeness was willing to create. Okay, so to become whole is to create. Be willing to create.
About that. What was the point in your life when you flipped from feeling broken to creating?
That's a great question. Broken. Wow, that was a real thing. I would go all the way back to probably I knew something was different when I entered America. I knew that my food had changed. My clothes had changed. The people around me looked a little bit different. Now, I didn't really take in a lot of that because I was so, one, naive, but two, I was what do you call, like, when a child is also, I'm totally losing this word, but just you're accepting of everything around you as well at the same time. So it wasn't until later I realized about 8 or 9 that things started changing. And so my biggest low was realizing birthdays would hit. There was something about my birthdays. Okay, this is what's interesting. I've noticed also in creating. You're always, and in life, you're always going to see an opposite to all things. So when I loved birthdays, I had some kind of subconscious or trigger or something that came along with my birthday. So every time I had a birthday, and I didn't recognize this at first, I'd be so excited in my new life to have the cake. Oh gosh, I trigger you guys. To have the cake, to have the friends, to have the community, just all this awesomeness. But when I would blow the candles out, I remember the first time when I blew the candles out, something different started happening at 8 and 9. And I started saying a wish, and that wish would be said. And I'd say, I wish to fly home. I don't think I really focused that I was really doing that. But every year after that, I blow the candles out, and I was pretty darn serious. And I would do these things in my life. I still do them. I'll do something, and then after I'll be like, wait, it's almost like something I already know of myself, but I don't yet realize the full scale of it yet. So I said this for a few years, and I said, I want to fly home. So I noticed this also, get how wonderful this is. The cake, without me recognizing until probably 20 years later, the cake had to be a butterfly. And I'm like, that's really? So what a butterfly means to you guys? Beautiful. To me, it was, the change, right? From how you change to become a butterfly. But more meaningful was that it flies, right? And I don't think I noticed that for 20 years. It wasn't even until after I wrote my book that I'm getting these downloads, you guys. This is what comes with the process of what happened to me while on the journey. What my whole soul, I don't mean just my body, I mean the whole soul was going through. Like, I slept, you guys, I was like in coma states because my mind, my psyche is just trying to catch up with what's going on. Like, you're going to go into this country, you have this other life over here. You're like got adopted by these American people that are so super awesome, but why the heck would they do that? Like, and who are you? So my biggest crisis, my biggest heart was the identity and where I was going, where I had been. And so I had asked the question, I had asked, to fly home, I'm sorry, I had asked the wish to fly home because
Oh,
I just didn't know where I stood.
so cool. So then there it probably that maybe that was just the moments that where the change was not a moment. Like you can't think of a moment when, okay, so now I'm not broken anymore. I'm I'm whole. But so here's the thing that I'm so interested in too. I did not mention this at the beginning. I did vaguely, but that you are an actress and that you are one of the actresses for The Chosen, which is also so fun. And what are some other things that you're doing with that? So we can jump if you want. I mean, you can fill in whatever blanks, but what are you doing today? And because you kind of told us where, a little bit about where you were and now where you are today, and how you got here a little bit. So we can back up if we have any other questions. But yeah, tell us about what you're doing today.
So today, again, very in line with things just coming along and doing their thing when they need to. I am an actress, and I'm probably, I think I'm about 5 or 6 years. I think I'm almost 6 years in the industry. So it has been wonderful. It was not planned. It was not on the radar. It was not created, at least not by me. And I felt that at one time that I would be introduced to it by a friend, but then I'd further be introduced to it when I was looking at some material of acting online that a friend had sent me. And then from there, I just felt like this is it. Like I should try this out. I didn't really know what it looked like. I didn't have any prior training. I didn't do anything like, again, this whole creating part started again, and I need to embrace what I didn't know. I mean, I feel like this is a story of my life. I had no idea about this industry. Also, the other thing is when I enter the industry, I'm very specific about my values, my belief structure, how I am as a person, and what I believe in. And so for me to do acting or a number of things, I was very specific. I learned of myself. I was very specific to standing up for myself, standing up for what I wanted to do, what I felt comfortable, what I felt right doing. And if sometimes that, I had a gig or something that seemed a little off, I just course correct, like make sure that's in line with me. And so a number of things have been really fun. Yes, The Chosen, and more, there's different sides of it. So there's like the Chosen and the Book of Mormon and some things with my church and different things of training videos and different things that I've worked on that go either within the Utah, and it can go statewide or it can go nationwide. Some have gone worldwide. And so these are not often seen, or, I honestly don't see a lot of my work. If I talk to you, you might think like, where the heck does she even work? Because I don't even see a lot of my work. A lot of it's hard to find. But then it goes from companies, it goes from products, where I've been able to do like Enso Rings and just different number of products, as well as tech. So a lot of tech companies need a lot of the acting and filming for their webinars and for teaching and all these things. And so I go on, and more often I'm picked as a teacher. And so we'll go through and set up like any kind of curriculum or book or video, and they're videoing all this so that people that go online, or if you see any of these videos, they're popping up and stuff, that's what, that's what's happening. But it's been really fun with local companies like Crumble and Marco Polo. Do you guys know Marco Polo, the app? So
yes. Yeah, there's an ad. I don't know.
Yeah, right. The round ball that looks like a beach ball.
Yeah, I know what that is, but is there an ad for it?
So I don't know where it went. Again, with the work, I have no idea what they do with it. And this is years ago. This is like my second year into it. They just had done something, and either because the other thing in the industry is you don't know if it lands on like a web page? Does it land on a podcast? Does it land on an app? Does it land on commercial? You have so that's the other reason why I was wise, which I do in all my work. I try to be as wise as I can. I'm not perfect. I might make mistakes. You might see me in something that I did not sign up for because I'm not in control of what happens on the other side of a commercial. I'm not in control of the other parts that they bring in for actors that are filmed elsewhere other days. And so I just always cross my fingers for myself that, you know, it's the best and tasteful. But yeah, I wish I had actually just the list right here in front of me. It's been super fun to work with BYU TV, Studio C's, and I mean that I love comedy. I love laughing, so that's been fun on a number of different comedies, from funerals to just all sorts of things that we're trying to aliens and all sorts of things that Studio C tries to push out, as well as a lot of the promo shows. I work with Kirby Hayborn for the promo show on Making Good and Story Trek and many others. And then I moved to the advocating work. This is where it inspired my advocacy, and we can even switch in that gear. But I had no idea this was coming. Again, through this whole process, I didn't know what was next. I literally didn't. I'm a freelance actress and model, and I felt very confident in it. Now, it was a gift that I think I didn't know before, but over time I realized, it's not something that I would say it's like takes my whole life. There are many, many things that I'm involved in, as well as my core love is community, family, and the safety of women, children, and men. And so I have a lot of other things that I do, but when it comes to this, I went to a modeling shoot. They also needed video, so we call that also acting. There's some acting there. And we went through this mansion. We took all this video and all these pictures, and it was beautiful. And they were talking to us about these different things they wanted to teach, and they were saying that it was for women, and it was beautiful. It was just dressed so nice, and there's gorgeous mansions in the canyon, and a mansion in the canyon. And then we were being paid really well, and I just thought, wait, what is this, And so I had talked to one of the representatives there, and she said, "Oh, do you see all these pamphlets?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "This is a women's center, and these are for those that have been sexually abused." And I was like, "Oh, wow." And so they had to introduce not just like other services and tools and information that they had to help these women, but they also had introduced a retreat. And so previous and still within the mansion, within the materials, when you go, those are still included, but I believe their front page is different. But my friend and I were chosen to be on the cover of the front page of this Saprea retreat. And it's a free retreat. And anyone can contact me if you want to. If you had any circumstance before the age of 18 where that has happened to you and it's personal to you, you just privately DM me. You don't have to tell me any details or your story or anything, but just ask for the link. It is the Saprea retreat. I always have a hard time not advocating for it and not throwing out the link. Just when I speak, but I loved it. I didn't know this was happening. She told me about it, and that moment, like, it didn't matter if I was on a job. It didn't matter what I was doing. It didn't matter how much makeup. It didn't matter, it didn't matter what was happening. What mattered was that I wanted to advocate for this, and I've done it since then. So that's probably 4 or 5 years. And yeah, it's just a love.
Well, and then you've done Utah refugees. Is that another thing I saw?
There's Artists Against Human Trafficking, and there's Operation Underground Railroad. I haven't worked with refugees, although I would love to be able to just get in touch with them, understanding that there's other individuals in the U.S. and different things that have been to other lands and have experienced other things, and that they're not alone while they come to America. So yeah, I'd love to be able to go in that area as well. But for now, yeah, there's been AAHT, which we call, but we are trying. We had in the past set up just different branches of just trying to look at artists against, well, we were artists against human trafficking, but just look at human trafficking and how can we better support people from being safe from that. And I also started a film modeling and for musicians and music artists and artists themselves, a page on Facebook that's private for the safety of everyone in those industries. And I post safety posts of just different ideas and different things for people to stay safe. And I love it. I love being able to express, those things. And we have a pretty great group in each industry. And I just know that with our jobs and with freelance, you're going everywhere. You're going to Salt Lake and you're going here and there. You're going at nighttime. You're going in the morning. You're going in the middle of the 4 a.m. You're doing all night, so 12 hours. With celebrities, you might not consider this, but they're going 12, 15 hours. And so it can be very dark. It can be very dangerous. It can be like you're going to your car. So there's a lot of things that people don't know on the other side of things that I like to look into. That maybe people haven't considered. So I do take my job, I take things a little further than just the job itself. It's never been something that, for me at least, that is to it's fun and exciting, but I like to be able to have purpose to what I do and just expand that.
You make it deeper than, more than just the surface.
And just dressing up or taking a picture or this or that, because that just gets old and monotonous.
Well, but you feel it. Like you're not just sharing your picture. You actually are advocating for the organizations that you're doing it for.
Yeah, for the advocacy work, that's a big deal. Yeah. But for the rest, sometimes for some of the work, it's a job done. Some, people really are, need their business and other things taken care of. And, we all need certain things done, as to run business as well. But yeah, for the advocacy side of things, absolutely. Like, it's been a blessing to advocate. But yeah, the advocacy with AAHT and then with GetReal we had in the past, we really focused on also people that suffered through. Usually we're trying to focus on the circle of people that weren't focused on as much, like those that would be termed as like having this stigma, the like outskirts of the community. Where I entered and better understood is one would be divorce.
Yes.
Divorcees, and that's a hard bone to chew on, especially when you're in it.
Yes. And actually, I would love for you to talk about that. We have about 10 more minutes. And then anyone who's joining our call that you want, if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask through the chat or whatever. But I did want to ask, I know you are a coach and your passion is for supporting singles like me. And I love to be able to collaborate with people like you who have that same passion. When I say like me, I mean like me as not as a coach, but like me as a single person who is seeking for that kind of support. I have done some mentoring and I've learned some of those tools and techniques to help, the mindset and all that, navigating through things, but it hasn't been long enough and I haven't really invested in that to be a coach. But I love working with coaches so that I can share your message and I can help people to know what it is that you're sharing. So I would love for you to tell us about that as much as you want to share. Like, maybe it might be helpful to ask you a question. If I came to you feeling completely broken after a divorce or major life challenge, what are some ways that you can help me? You probably would ask me, what specifically help do you need? I might say self-image is a big piece. How do you help people build self-image, or how do you help people create this whole life that they're seeking for? What kinds of things do you do to help them? I don't know, this is a big question. You can answer however you want, but that's kind of what I think is, what is your style of coaching? How do you help people?
Yeah, that's a great question. I love that. I love being able to serve and help in that way. I don't think I knew at the beginning, but I definitely knew quickly after just starting to be in it myself, experiencing it myself, going a few years out from that. There was a couple years that I experienced it before I was a coach. But I did notice when I was in school, I was in also social work, but I didn't want to do the really heavy. I didn't want to hear, for me, because it was a big trigger with my adoption and different things, which I healed a lot from. well, yeah, like a lot of this has been, you know, the past, but at the time, like that was really kind of hard, like the social work and the stories and stuff. But I did take to a lot of the services. And so being able to offer services to someone, it was a big deal to me. And I actually learned something about myself, that I am literally obsessed with services, like anything that is, especially Utah, anything that can provide the welfare or some kind of like when you need just what do you call it, relief, some sort of relief for the needs. And I look at the needs first because, again, I've been there, I understand it, I know what it feels like to be able to go into a fridge and go, oh my gosh, there's food here. And you know, like when I first came here, I know those experiences. I don't remember the details, but I believe children remember lots of things, even when they don't recognize everything. But yeah, so I would lead them through first listening. I love to listen. I think listening is one of the key principles and tools that is not used enough. And then asking where they're at. So a lot of people want to express and talk. And I think that says a lot, that really we could use some good listeners. I don't, you know, have all, you know, whole month and stuff, but I feel like that's so helpful to, like, if we can have more listeners in the world. And then I would ask them, like, what are your initial needs? Especially because I've studied and researched and watched leaders and videos and everything, like people in different situations, dire situations. What helps to meet the human need and the purpose and identity of the person, the wellness and the love, self-love. And they said that a lot of times you can't get there if your needs aren't being met, like your specific needs. For instance, if you're starving, the mind is focused on starving. Like you can't focus, like if you have not eaten for 3 days, or you haven't, you know, you're not properly clothed or whatever it is, you know. And so I have noticed for myself and in the research that I've had, that is necessary. So I love to go to the needs. Like, okay, so what would be the immediate needs, like of your home and of your family and of what, you know, I work with more individuals, their immediate needs versus the family, but I still have like ton of needs I like to look at. I'm sorry, services that I like to provide and have available in Utah, as well as talking to them about self-love. Encouragement is huge. Encouraging, cheering on. Everyone needs a cheerleader. Huge cheerleader. I'm huge. I love to hand out compliments. Like I'll probably do it until I'm dead. Like I'll be like on my deathbed, literally, you guys. If I'm 100, I'll be like, oh, your your clothes look so pretty. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's just like a huge thing to do in service. It's so easy. Give a compliment, you know. But I will walk them through steps. There's a lot of things that I've you know, have worked out that are a lot of structural, but a lot of also going with the flow, because people are in a very sensitive, tender spot. And yeah, and everything's different. Everyone's family's different. Everyone's different. So it also is very individualized.
Yeah, and you mentioned similar to what I'm doing with encouraging people to write their life stories and embrace their stories and learn from them and all that. That was something that you also mentioned, that helping people to write their stories. So like you said, asking them questions about their life and listening to their stories and listening to their history, and yeah, being able to connect with them. That kind of all goes in line with all of that. Go good. Okay, so I would love for others to be able to reach out to you if they can. Let me ask you this one last question, and then I can get your contact information to share. Um, the last question I have is, if you were given just 3 minutes to share the most important message in someone's life, maybe singles, maybe it's a group of singles of the world, they're all collected into one space. What would the message be? What would be the most important message that you would want them to hear from you?
I really feel like the number one message would be that you fit, meaning you fit in every part of your life, even the hard, even the part where someone may have made some poor choices, or maybe you had made some poor choices. Or maybe I call them learning choices, because I don't really look at it as good and bad. I don't even like to use the word bad in my home, but to keep an open mindset and have it be the learning. And also that people understand that they matter. You matter no matter what's happened to
You
you.
matter
You
and
matter.
you fit. You
You
belong.
fit and you matter. So you can fit into anything, everywhere. And I think that also helps the community to see, where can I allow others to fit? How do I allow others to fit somewhere? You know, how do I do better? How do we do better as a community? How do we do better as a nation to allow people to feel that way as well, right? And I'm still working on that. I'm not perfect at it. I'm sure I've offended or hurt or done things. But I know that there's always a process of working towards being better. And when we also have self-love, when we work on ourselves and we believe we fit and we believe we matter, like that's where I had to get to my whole life. There was years, tears, crying, praying, hoping, resilience. I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to come on top. And I'd been there, I'd gone there, I've gotten to that mountaintop, and I believe that I have that. But I want to be able to have people feel that way too. You know, you fit and you matter, and have, you know, not because I'm saying it, but that you take the time yourself to go home, to look at yourself in the mirror and to tell yourself every day, even if you have to, so that you fit and you matter.
What does that mean to you? Because I agree with you. It doesn't, if you have that in your heart, then it doesn't matter what others say or do or think or act. It doesn't matter what circumstances happen around you when you have that self-acceptance and that self-love.
And it doesn't matter like what people do in their lives, like if they're the biggest Instagram person, or they have this kind of career, or they look this way. I have seen the most amazing souls, the most heart-wrenching situations, or their physical bodies have a deformity or whatever it is, and they are beautiful. They are amazing. They fit and they matter. Like when I hear their story and I see them, I oh my goodness, it's just amazing. I want us to look at ourselves that way.
We want people to connect with you. So is the best way through Facebook or email? What is the best way for someone to reach out to you and find you? Oh, you mentioned another place that we could find you more information about some of the movies and commercials and stuff you've done. You shared that with me in your first bio, and I did not write that down. Is it Utah Cinema or something like that? You told me.
We can shoot the link there later, totally. Like we can shoot the cinema therapy link, and that covers, you know, the film side in my story, but also like I usually have people, you know, move towards my Adopted for Change page, because that really outlines like what I do and the coaching, the advocacy work. You can click on advocacy, and that describes like all my advocacy work. You can click on community. It's all the people I've met. It's all these things that, you know, my products or this or that. And if you want to send a message and you are wanting, you know, to touch on the coaching, you can message there. But I usually have that as my link to, you know, or way for people to get a hold of me. My contact information is adoptedforchange.com with the number 4. But we'll get that, you know, sent in the link. But cinema therapy is great. You guys would just have a ball with them. They also are really, really awesome. I always love to promote them. You guys, they are amazing for mid-singles and singles, everywhere for relationship, because it's a mix of a film director and a professional and licensed certified therapist. And they're both my friends. So you have Alan Seacrest and you have Jonathan, and they go together and they just blew up. And they talk about the movies in the Hollywood or in the movie and film industry, and they pull them apart and they do a big therapy session on all of them. So you could have endless learning.
Cinema therapy. Cinema therapy, that's what you're talking about,
Cinema
right?
therapy.
Awesome.
Have a great relationship.
I'll do a link. Facebook is not great at sharing posts when they have links, so I'll still do it. I'll put it in the YouTube, the video that we put on YouTube. All these links. This is good. I have all these notes, and I'll stay in touch with you to figure out these links. But yeah,
I can post it in the top advocacy work you go to my advocacy and press advocate, I can also put the link there, and I'll just put in my adoptedforchange.com website. That way you can also go to just to the top one that says Adopted for Change, and I'll put a cinema therapy link, and I'll put cinema therapy.
Oh, good. Yes.
Yeah, I can do that.
I'll have that. That's really good.
Also my Facebook, like if you guys want to go to my Facebook, Adopted for Change, I can put it in that one too. If people, don't go to the website.
Okay. Is there anything else that you will have to share before we say goodbye? Anything else?
I would just share that it's been awesome. It's been fun to just be able to talk with all of you and to be able to share my heart and just everything that really is dear to me because of all of you, like because of community, because of people that get to be in my life, and that I get to be able to have this opportunity from, with Sheri. It's so amazing to be able to have the conversation we had and to connect and then be invited. So thank you, Sheri. Thank you, everyone. I just really appreciate it. Always humbles me to be able to express, how amazing people really are.
Yes, so good. Well, thank you for your time. We'll put more links and information in the video that we put on YouTube.
Awesome.